The federal government is bankrupt, and it's kind of like it's close to checkmate. I mean, we're kind of on the cusp of a sovereign debt crisis right now. I just don't see anything that slows down this spending. If that's the case, we prepare for a crack up move. How are people going to react when Bitcoin starts going up $10,000 a day?
So the big beautiful bill, if I'm not mistaken, that adds what, 5 trillion additional
Over a 10-year window, I think. Yeah. And so
how does this compare historically to?
Well, it's just, I mean, we're already running $200 billion or $2 trillion annualized run rate deficits where we're at right now. Now, to be fair, Doge did accomplish some things, and it's probably knocking 100 or 200 off of that. And I just read that the tariffs are bringing in 20 to 30 a month, so call maybe another 200 there. So that all helps. But then if you turn around and look at the big beautiful bill, and you look at just the defense, I mean, here's an area where I got surprised. I thought Trump was anti-war. I thought Trump might actually go after the defense budget. I mean, I sat at a conference and talked to David Stockman. He said that's the biggest pile of shit in the country. I mean, we're spending almost $1 trillion on defense, and it's not even smartly spent. We're spending it on big things that drones can take out. We should be spending it on drones because drones will be the future of warfare. And I thought maybe Trump would keep defense flat, but no, it's gone up. Partly because of the war in Israel, but also because of Ukraine, et cetera. And so, I just don't see anything that slows down this spending. I mean, at the end of the day, the system is constructed in a way that even the Freedom Caucus that ran on the whole issue of controlling spending, they all got rolled over by Trump. And so be it. I mean, if that's the case, fine. I think the answer is we prepare for a crack up boom. And the price of, the good news is the price of Bitcoin is going to be higher. The price of gold is going to be higher, et cetera, et cetera. The bad news is, we're going to get another wave of food inflation, similar to what happened the last time around where, money supply grew 40% in the COVID example. So it's, it is what it is. It's the system we live in. And I think ultimately it'll fall apart and Bitcoin will be the numeraire, but we probably got a few backs and forths before we get to that stage.
Did you see that? I think it was today that Trump was basically saying that we're the interest rate is at least 3 points too high. Basically, saying we should drop it.
Yeah, no, he wants free money. I mean, he's a debt guy. He's a real estate guy. And they need free money. I mean, they really do. I mean, look at we're spending we've got 37 trillion in debt. We're spending close to $1.2 trillion or 3. I'm sure the run rate on the interest costs. If you took those short-term bills down to 1%, you would cut your interest costs substantially. Now, I'm not sure necessarily who's going to be buying those bills at 1%. I mean, I think it's you get into real problems. I mean, the federal government is bankrupt, and it's kind of like it's close to checkmate. And so, how quickly it unwinds, I can't say, but it could unwind pretty quickly. I mean, what happens if we wake up one day and Bitcoin's at 400 and gold's at 10,000? I mean, to me, that's a sovereign debt crisis. I mean, we're kind of on the cusp of a sovereign debt crisis right now. And I think that it wouldn't take a lot more to shove us over the edge. I mean, how are people going to react when these things start going up, when Bitcoin starts going up $10,000 a day, or gold starts going up $500 a day? I mean, it's, this is the model, and I talk about it in my book, is it's smoke in a theater where a few people smell it and they get out, and then eventually everybody knows it's there.
I usually don't take questions from the audience in the middle of a stream, but I did see this one, and I thought that, Larry, you might.
Sure, I haven't been watching the stream because I've been talking. But
yeah, so there's a dude. It's funny because he's always got quite good questions, but his screen name is hilarious. So this question from Pooed in the Cereal. He says, Larry, thoughts on the M1 velocity barely rebounding since 2020, while M2 velocity has. Are they in favor of stable coins to increase liquidity before big print? So, I mean,
I think the answer is yes. I mean, they're in favor of stable coins just because it helps them sell their debt. Yeah, M1 and M2 velocity have been slowly trending up. I think it's interesting that the US has not been printing much, but Canada, as I just retweeted it this morning, you guys are doing great. Your M2 is growing about 8% a year.
Yeah, we're really good at that up here.
Yeah, you're great at that, and China is even a bigger number. So, and as we all know, it's global liquidity that matters because all the money is very fungible. And so, yeah, it's look, you can just see it and feel it coming. I mean, and what's really interesting to me, again, I point out, just kind of wrapping all my comments into one, is look at how the Trump administration, look at the change that's taken place from where we started to where we are now. We started with, oh, we're going to balance the budget and we're going to put all these tariffs in. The tariffs are going to pay for everything. That's going to go down, blah, blah, blah. Now we're at, well, that didn't work so well. The market cratered when we put in the high tariffs. Let's party on, Garth. And you know what? We're going to grow our way out of this thing. And if that means we got to cut rates by 300 basis points, well, then we're cutting them by 300 basis points. I mean, there's just no way you can't interpret that as being enormously inflationary, and it will be.
Yeah.
And so I've often said this decades like the 70s, where you had these waves of inflation, right? We had the first wave was COVID, and then Powell, jumped in and said, oh, no, I'm taking rates up fast. And he did. And he kind of got it back in the can, kind of. It went from 9 down to the 3-ish. The target's 2. But now, I think we're kind of looking at the beginning of the next wave, and it's probably only 7-8 months away, and the markets might front run it knowing that it's coming, right?
Yeah, he's really teeing up what he would like potentially Besant to do when he gets.
Well, that's right. I'm not sure if he'll pick Besant, though. He might pick Hassett. I mean, he's going to pick somebody, though, that's going to be very, very loose. And it's interesting. There was an article in the New York Times this morning. It's, well, it doesn't matter who he picks if he does pick somebody who's loose. The boards, it's a board vote, but that's bullshit. I mean, the fact of the matter is, if you read any history of the Federal Reserve, the chairman bullies everybody into what he wants to do. Mm-hmm. So if the chairman says we're going to ZIRP and QE, we're going to ZIRP and QE. Yeah. And that's pretty much what they've got to do if they want to keep it going, in my view. And so we'll just have to wait and see. I mean, it's, there are a lot of moves. I mean, I saw somebody tweeted today that Powell's going to resign. I don't think Powell's going to resign. He's going to get a lot of grief, though. I tweeted out recently, he's talking about doing a $2.5 billion renovation of the Eccles building in Washington, D.C. I mean, this is like the Marie Antoinette Award. I mean, he's got a $200 billion deficit that the Fed has run that he's calling a deferred asset, which is total horseshit. And he blew the call on transitory inflation. I mean, he's in so many ways, he's just been totally wrong. He cut rates twice to try and help Biden. It didn't work. Now we've actually got lower inflation. He's not cutting rates. Okay. And he's proposing that we spend $2.5 billion to renovate this old building in D.C. I mean, the guy is just, he's living in another world, and that's fine. He can continue to live there and he can hold rates where they are. But what he's going to find is that, the markets are going to move beyond him pretty quickly, because he's now officially, quote unquote, a short timer. He's done in May.
Yep. Absolutely. Now, I want to defer to the rest of the panel if you guys have things you wanted to tag in here or questions of Larry, Matthew, or Anil. Either of you want to jump in?
I'll jump in briefly. I remember that period during the bear market when a lot of us, there was the Bitcoin bear market. There was nothing to do except make macro videos, and everyone was trying to time the money printers. And so I made a lot of videos then, and the one I remember the most was I used this famous Robert Frost poem that's about the end of the world. Some say that the world will end in fire, some say in ice. And I use that as a metaphor for fires, of course, inflation, and ice is deflation. And then I went through and looked at historically, and ice is deflation and austerity, which never works because the politicians get thrown out. And so I think, I agree with everything Larry said. And I think when you're trying to choose between austerity and growing your way out, the guy who is fond of gold toilets is not the guy you bring in to do austerity. Like Trump is, you don't think austerity, you think Trump. Yeah. And so, but it would have been inevitable with Kamala or whomever. And
I was going to say, I mean, it was a better choice than the alternative. But the thing I worry about is, okay, so now we're 4 years from now, inflation's very high. Maybe the economy and employment have held together okay, but inflation's very, very high. And, you get a politician similar to this guy in New York, and he comes and starts promising all kinds of things. People are hurting.
UBI.
And Team Blue wins. And, Elizabeth Warren is got a real voice. And as far as she's concerned, Bitcoin and gold are ruining the Keynesian economic model, and they need to be taxed and seized and all kinds of bad stuff, right? That's, I mean, and there's history of chief executives making those kinds of decisions. I mean, it's supposed to, the monetary stuff is supposed to be in the Constitution. It's supposed to be controlled by Congress, but in fact, Nixon took us off the gold standard. Roosevelt seized the gold. Lincoln printed greenbacks and created the first form of fiat. So, and none of them had any kind of congressional backing to do what they did. And so, we got to make hay here in this next 4 years, because if Team Blue wins in 4 years, Stephanie Kelton's going to be Treasury Secretary, and that's frankly how I think we get to hyperinflation.
Yeah.
So,
well, Larry, you're making a great case for self-custody.
Right. I mean,
this is exactly why people need to self-custody their Bitcoin and not rely strictly on.
Yeah, I mean, people should remember that. I mean, if the government were to call up Fidelity or BlackRock or any one of these ETFs and say, we've decided to outlaw Bitcoin in the United States, please send all those coins to us and pay your people out in the cash. Give them the cash they get for the coins. Send them to us. We'll print the cash. You can have it. They're going to get cashed out at yesterday's price. Those organizations would have to do it. They would have to follow the law. Of course, the price of Bitcoin would soar, the following day, but you wouldn't own any of it, if you were in an ETF. So those of us who are not, we may not like it either. They might decide they want to tax us or come to our houses and grab it. But I'm chronically having these boating accidents, and
you and me both, man. You and me both.
Yeah, I mean, they're dangerous, and to be frank, I mean, there's a point in time at which I'm not a citizen of the United States anymore either. So I hope I never have to go there, because I love this country. I want to fix it, but if the government goes rogue on Bitcoiners, we're going to go rogue right back on them.
Yeah, 100%.
I hope so.
Anil, I want to get any thoughts or questions or whatever you want to toss in here as well.
I think it all comes back to everything we're talking about is just increasing uncertainty and increasing entropy. And all the Bitcoiners kind of understand that, and they've opted out, which means the repercussions of everything that does happen in the future is just going to fall on fewer and fewer shoulders over time. So again, it's just like a call to action, educate the ones you love, get them to understand this, because it's at a point now where it's really important.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, that's why I wrote the book. I just wanted to try and help average people. I mean, I think it's those of us who are aware of the macro can see this train, that Lynn talks about. It's just coming down the track. And, there's a lot there. As Anil pointed earlier, one of the best things you can do as investors is study history. There's so many historical examples of this. And to think that we can pursue all the policies that all these other countries pursued that led them to serious inflation, depressions or hyperinflation, and not have consequences. I mean, certainly we've been able to do it because we've been the reserve currency and we're the leading country in the world, but that doesn't always have to be the case. So I think it's, that's why we all Bitcoin, right?
Let me break this down for my fellow Bitcoiners. In just 8 weeks, I've seen a serious shift, more strength, more energy, and fast muscle gains. The reason? FITSCRIPT. They ran 124 biomarkers, blood, hormones, inflammation, and built a fully custom plan, nutrition, training, supplements. No guesswork, no templates. This is functional medicine meets precision fitness for high-performing men who want sovereignty over their health. If you care about optimization the way you care about your money, test, don't guess. Don't trust, verify. Hit the link in the description or scan the QR code on the screen to check out FITSCRIPT and see what's possible. Bitcoin Well is the best place to be buying and selling Bitcoin in Canada and the US. And now with Bitcoin Well Infinite, it's also the best place to be making large buys at their OTC desk of over $50,000. Their white glove service gives you fast transactions, no slippage, and the lowest fees. You can scan the QR code on the screen or simply head to bitcoinwell.com/BTC sessions to sign up today. And you can share your own personalized referral link to earn commissions.